Hello everybody, what is going on? This is SRY-in-advance. Today I am going to be making a video on my Warlock setup, what I use for the raids, what I use for the strikes, what I use for everyday playing around, and what I use as far as Crucible goes. Now for the raid, normally I use Fatebringer, Black Hammer, and then the Galahorn, but I have also used Fatebringer, Icebreaker, and then the Hunger of Crota. Both of them are very strong setups. As far as soloing it, I would use Galahorn. As far as playing with the team, it depends on what your team has. Now, as for my armor, I usually use the Obsidian Mind. Very good helmet. The only other one I use is Apotheosis Veil, but that is when I am soloing Hard Crota, because the health gain that you get from this when you pop your super just is invaluable. The Obsidian Mind, its main perk, Insatiable. Nova Bomb kills reduce the cooldown of your next Nova Bomb, is very, very powerful. Every other lamp, you can spam a Nova Bomb, kill all the enemies, and then move on to your next lamp. Now, as for my subclass, I use Voidwalker. I use the Vortex Grenade for my grenade. It's basically like a little Nova Vortex Bomb. It's very strong. If you don't kill them with the first hit, then they're trapped inside and you can kill them that way. For my glide, I use Focus Burst, which will allow me to get higher. Other people use Focus Control. I think both of them are very similar jumps. I like both of them. I just prefer Focus Burst. As for my Nova Bomb, I use Vortex on it. If you don't kill them when you first use your super, again, them just being trapped inside the thing is perfect. Or you can throw your Nova Bomb at an area that you don't want any enemies going in, and they will stay around the Nova Bomb Vortex. Now, as for my energy drain, I use Lifesteal or Soul Rip. They are both very good, especially when you are a Voidwalker, for Nova Bomb is very, very powerful. As for my Warlock Toughness, Recovery, and Agility perks, I use Arcane Force, which is training focused on toughness and speed, and Ancestral Order, training focused on all attributes. Eventually I might use Divine Order, toughness at all costs, but I like the overall armor, recovery, and agility being up. Now, as for my third tier slot, I believe that is, I use Annihilate, increases the size of explosions created by Nova Bomb and the grenades. Angry Magic just isn't really good, and the Hunger, increasing the duration of the energy drain effect, isn't really good because if you're using Lifesteal, it'll get you up to health and then nothing else will happen. So Annihilate, getting that increased size of the explosion, as well as the Obsidian Mind together, is super, super powerful. Now, as for my final perk, I use Bloom, which is kind of like a little mini Firefly, which is insanely powerful. Vortex Mastery, it's not very good. And then Embrace the Void is alright, but it's touchy. Now, if I were to use Sunsinger, I would use the Sunsinger subclass, and then I would either use Apotheosis Veil or the Deathsinger's Gaze, and then I would use the Sunbreakers, but I do not have the Sunbreakers leveled up, so I will not review them at this time. As for my Sunsinger setup, normally I will use Fusion Grenades or Solar Grenades. I was soloing Earute earlier, so that is why I'm using Solar Grenades, but Fusion Grenades are altogether more powerful. As for my glide, I use Balance Glide. I like the height and the control that I get, instead of just the overall height. I wish if Voidwalker had this, I would definitely use Balance Glide. Now, as for Radiance, I would either use, while active, Radiance reduces incoming damage, or Fire Burn, which will allow you to revive yourself if you die and you have a super. For my Scorch, I use Flame Shield, because when you melee an enemy and panic and you are able to get that little shield for when you're getting hit, sometimes you can survive. Now, Brimstone is also a very strong perk, but it's like a little mini Bloom, and it's okay. As for my two Warlock armor, recovery, and agility perks, I use Arcane Spirit, training focus on battle recovery and toughness, and Ancestral Order, training focus on all attributes. As for my second perk, I use increases the duration of radiance. Viking Funeral and ignite your enemies longer and take more damage is very good, but unfortunately it takes down Crota too fast when you are soloing him, so I do not use Viking Funeral. Sunburst is also a fairly good one if you were playing with a team, but yeah, it's not that one for me. As for my final perk, I use Touch of Flame. All grenades ignite enemies, causing damage over time. It's kind of like a little mini solar grenade, which is alright, but you can hit them and ignite them every single time. Angel of Light is a fairly pointless perk because you can just aim your weapon and you float. It's not necessarily that great. And Gift of the Sun, when you gain an additional grenade, is alright. I would use that in PvP, but other than that, not very useful. Now as for PvP, I either use Sunsinger or Voidwalker. They are both good. If I was to use Voidwalker, I would more than likely use Apotheosis Veil, just because I get that increased health when I use my super, which will allow me to get my Nova Bomb off every once in a while when I normally wouldn't. Other than that, I use all 4 raid gear. Although my all 4 raid gear is not very powerful, I would like to have more discipline, but you can't have everything that you want. As for my weapons, usually I use Red Death, the Felwinter's Lie, the Corrective Measure, but I have used the Hesitant's Vengeance every once in a while. Another good weapon to have in your Heavy slot would be the Iron Banner Rocket Launcher, if you have Grenade and Horseshoes, and the Clown Cartridge perk. Now, in PvP, if I was using the Voidwalker, I would more than likely use Axiom Bolt, Blink, Lance, probably Lifesteal still. I would do this instead of Agility. I would use Nova Bomb Tracks Enemy. Well, I'd probably use Annihilate, and then I would use Divine Order. As for my final perk, I would keep it all the same, but the reason that I would max out my armor is because you can actually survive trip mine grenades and other things like that if you needed to. Now as for my perks in Sunsinger, I would use fairly similar perks, although I would buff my armor a little bit, and I would use a few things that others wouldn't. Now, I would still use fusion grenades because they are very powerful in PvP. I would use Balance Glide still, but instead of Fireborn, I would use Radiant Skin, so while active, Radiance reduces incoming damage. Overall, more powerful. If you can stay alive longer and throw more fusion grenades, you are more of a threat to the enemy. I use Flame Shield because damaging enemies with Scorching, getting that little extra shield for longer, is very powerful. I would use that over anything else any day. I use Arcane Spirit, Viking Funeral, which is a change from Radiant Will, because if you don't quite kill them with a fusion grenade because they have a shield up or something, they will burn, and I believe that this also stacks with the Thorn. So if you are using Thorn, you get a little bit more damage. I use Divine Order because toughness. You can survive those stupid trip mine grenades and hunter grenades that can sometimes kill you. And then I use Gift of the Sun for an additional grenade. As for my armor, I keep it the same just because I don't have anything else that's good. As for normal roof strikes, running around, I just kind of level up the guns. I'm currently working on a 2 Lemorg, which actually does have shot package as well as my Felwinter's Lie, so not necessarily sure what I'll be using, but it's something to experiment with. Now, when I'm just running around normally, I would use the Fatebringer, the Black Hammer, and the Galahorn, or the Corrective Measure, because I also do love MGs. So that is going to be all for this video, guys. Thank you for watching. I probably will have a video on my Hunter and my Titan if you guys enjoy this kind of video. But if you did enjoy the video, please give me a like. Comment if you really want to see something different. And I will see you guys in the next video.